Yeah, we are in Times Square, and we're at 43rd and Broadway, the NASDAQ building. We're in the window on the world. It's a window of the world. And this is Bill Gates wishes he had windows like this. We're going to bring this guy out here who is my friend, and also you know him as being one of the greatest minds in our generation, the amazing Kreskin. And here he is. Let's bring him out. Or Buck Howard, some call him. He is the amazing Kreskin, and Buck Howard was a movie about him, was Tom Hanks' film. Come on, Kreskin. Come on down.
Good to see you, my friend. God, it's great.
You're not going to shake my hand.
Congrats! I'm so excited. This is a special guy in the area of broadcasting. I want to tell you. Talk about specializing in communication. It's so good to see you.
Yes, I know. Is this desk imposing?
No,
is it like
not.
A buffet table? We should bring the food out here from
Oh
Sarge's.
You got good food.
Yeah, we had all these deli platters. We should bring them out here.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Then we'd have an audience.
Well, you'd have everybody at home thinking, food is you're so stimulated by visual imagery and just watching people. I was just saying the other day, I was watching some old movies. I don't see many movies, and everybody smoked in those days, so you can understand watching people smoke how easily it was to pick up a cigarette and go on, like that.
Well, it was romantic.
Yes, and it was something to do with the hands.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was a kid, I didn't smoke. I've never smoked in my life, but this is aging me. Like, I was born in 1842 or 1843, around that time. But Betty Davis always had the darn cigarette in her hand. It was a fascinating prop. Today, you know what I find interesting, and don't anyone take this in a malicious way. I don't mean it this way, but a lot of the producers in television, and Joey will start talking about it too. They all comment on it, how some very fine celebrities, have made a successful movie and maybe have 14 minutes of fame, and they walk onto a talk show, and I hate to say it, but they don't seem to feel comfortable walking in because they don't know how to walk on. And then they sit down, and the producers call me the next day and say, Kreskin, there's another one of the jacket ones. When you sit down in a house on television or what have you, you unbutton your jacket. And they say, now look at that, look at Joey. You don't leave the jacket button, you unbutton it. These folks, these are not important things unless you want to get in show business. But today...
There are if you want to keep your TV show.
But today, I think one of the dramatic changes, and I never realized how out of hand it is. We used to hear about I didn't have a stage mother. My mom and dad were normal, stable people. But, you hear about Judy Garland. She had tragedy in her life. I mean, one of the great successes. But there were, and of course, the Ethel Merman play, Gypsy. But today... And everybody in the business, because they know I deal with how people think, talks to me about these reality shows where these kids are doing all kinds of outrage. And by the way, if any of you think that these shows aren't scripted, I want to sell you the Brooklyn Bridge. I mean, if you want, you're paying what you pay for, and if they're not scripted, the director on the other side, because people in everyday life, it's boring no matter what your life is. Yeah. But what the sad thing is that these are the stage mothers, these helpless, indigent, neurotic mothers who are pushing their kids on reality shows to do anything, go nude and what have you. So it's like history repeating itself.
Well,
I don't know whatever made me talk about this.
I don't know.
I'm sorry, Jay.
Go wherever you want to go. I mean, it's all a stream of unconsciousness with you.
Well, no, the thing about I think the remarkable thing about you, Joey, is and I never knew him. He wrote me a lot of letters, but later in his life, but. Jack Parr always did a monologue because he couldn't sing, dance, or what have you. And Regis, we talk about Regis because I did 104 shows with him, and I love this man. He's exactly the same off camera as on. But Regis wanted to. He says, "I can't sing." He said, "Kreskin, I can't dance. I'm not a joke teller." And he revered Jack Parr. So Regis goes on, and you're the remaining person. I mean, Larry King is off there now, and you're the remaining person, except that what we didn't know about Jack Parr, and one of his producers became my producer in television, is that those opening monologues that Jack Parr ad-libbed were all scripted.
Yeah, his were scripted.
They were all scripted. Yeah. Yours aren't. You tell him
Dick Cavett was one of his writers, too.
Dick Cavett. And what a brilliant man he is.
Very smart.
I mean,
we've got to get this across. I mean, I don't think we get this across. we're all friends, you know.
We've known
And
each
we act
other
like we're
I said,
we act like we hate each other, can't wait for someone to die so we replace them. And I don't think that's the case.
No,
I'm not looking for anybody to have a bad time.
This is a very small business. This is
Yeah.
a very, people don't realize how small. That's why I tell, by the way, my favorite comment today, because I do a lot of college shows, all these kids are taught, how to behave when they go into business meetings and so forth. My God in heaven, use some common sense. They'll go in and say, well, I like to work at the station. I'll do this kind of job. We get the weekends off and so forth. And Roger Ailes, who's the head of Fox, told me a long time ago that when he tried for the Mike Douglas show, and Woody Fraser was producing it, he goes, Mr. Fraser, he said, I just got out of college. He said, and I hope, Roger, I'm not telling things out of school. Roger said, well, I studied broadcasting in school. We did television, what have you. And Woody Fraser, who now produces Huckabee, and I see him all the time, he said, well, what's your practical experience? And Roger said, well, I did all these things. And Woody Fraser said, I can't use the language. You haven't had one damn practical bit of experience. We'll hire you. And he says, I'll pay you $25. Now, today, kids are taught, oh, no. Roger said, I'll take it, and he learned it, because if you ever want to get a job in show business, and you walk into an office, and you say to the head of the production, the movie, the TV show, what are the hours? You're done for. I wouldn't hire you for the next 10 years. There's no hours in this business.